But anyway, I want to thank the Democratic Women's Club for inviting Carol and me to be here today. I always love coming to Nevada County. It's just a great place to visit. I try to get here as often as I can, but this is the first time that I brought Carol with me to see what Nevada County is like. Carol's the one sitting up here with the button that says, "Regulate Wall Street, not women." Carol and I are both attorneys, and we live in a little town in eastern Shasta County called Fall River Mills. We moved up there 18 years ago with our kids. My daughter, who is also now an attorney, was only in the 5th grade at that time. But it's a very small town, and as soon as we moved up there, the word got out that we have 2 new attorneys in town. So about the very first phone call at our office we got was from the high school. And they said, "We have a girl who's a junior at our high school that needs to be emancipated from her parents. She doesn't have any money. Would you be willing to help her out and get her emancipated?" So Carol met with this girl. Her name's Vicky. And it became, well, the situation was that she was living with her father and stepmother and 3 little brothers in a 2-bedroom home that just there wasn't a place for her to sleep. And she was sleeping in an old junky car parked in front of their house. And just like here, by October or so, it starts getting pretty cold in Fall River Mills, and sleeping in a car isn't the best thing to do. But we realized that emancipation wasn't really what she needed. And so what Carol did was invited her to move in with us. Now, here's the best part of this story. Her family, not a single member of her family had ever graduated from high school. And this girl was one smart little girl. And living with us, she graduated from high school. But not only that, we got her into a junior college for 2 years in a program that if she did everything they required, she would automatically be admitted to UC Davis, and she did that.
Oh, wow.
And finally, she graduated from UC Davis, got her teacher's credentials, and she's now married with children, but she is now a school teacher. So Carol deserves all the credit for this, let me tell you. What I really want to talk about today, though, is what's happening to the middle class, because it's under attack. And not since the 1920s has so much wealth been concentrated in so few numbers of people here in the United States. The 1% we hear so much about, the 1%, the wealthiest 1% own 35% of the total assets in the United States. That's real estate, stocks and bonds, gold and silver, cash in the bank. 35% of the total assets in 1% of the population. If you go to 2%, 2% together owns more than half the assets in the United States. And that's because the middle class has been under attack now for 20 years, and we're facing the worst of the attack in the next year or two. And let me talk about what exactly that is. It's called the Ryan Plan. We absolutely must save Social Security in the form it is today. Social Security is, well, first of all, it's been around for more than 75 years. It's the most successful government program there ever has been. It's popular, and yet the Ryan Plan wants to dismantle that Social Security and change it to something that they call privatization, which basically means allowing people to gamble the payroll tax that's come out of their paychecks all those years, to gamble it on the stock market. Now, so all of you know that Social Security is meant to be a lifeline for people. Before Social Security, the biggest number of people that were below the poverty line were the seniors, the people that had stopped working and they just did not have enough money to live anymore. Social Security is what has made the middle class be as big as it is today. Now, there is a little problem with Social Security, and those that are pushing the Ryan Plan are telling us a big lie. They're telling us that Social Security is in such trouble that it's almost bankrupt that we've got to do something drastic to fix it. That's a lie. There's $2.6 trillion in the Social Security Trust Fund. It has a problem, but it's not broken. It just needs a little tweaking to fix. The problem, if you don't know, is when the program was set up in the 1930s, they did actuarial calculations to determine how much of the payroll tax was needed to fund Social Security forever. And they calculated it perfectly right, except for one little thing. They didn't anticipate that between the 1930s and today, people would start living so darn long. But as it turns out, that causes underfunding, but it's not a real major problem. There's various solutions being talked about without just throwing it out like the Ryan plan wants to do. Some people are talking about raising the age before you qualify for Social Security. I don't think that's a good idea. Others are talking about reducing the benefits for Social Security. Well, there's so many people living on Social Security alone right now that they would drop below the poverty line if that happened. So those are, in my view, are out. As it turns out, though, there's a real easy solution to the problem. A non-painful solution to the problem. As I mentioned, the way Social Security is funded, it's the payroll tax. Remember, the first dollar you earn at your job on the paycheck, there's something called FICA. Yep. That's the Social Security payroll tax that funds Social Security. It also funds Medicare, but we'll talk about that at a different time. The thing about this is, every paycheck you get, FICA comes out, that payroll tax comes out until you get to, right now it's $110,000. That's called the cap. And by the way, your employer matches the FICA tax that comes out of your paycheck. But when you get to $110,000, they stop taking that out of the paycheck. And the employer doesn't have to match it anymore. The only thing we have to do to fix Social Security is eliminate the cap. For those, first of all, how many people are earning more than $110,000 in any one year? There's not very many. But there was over 13,000 people last year, not last year, but 2009, which is the last time that I have the figures for. Over 13,000 people that made more than $10 million in 1 year. Can you imagine if we just continued taking the payroll tax, how much money that would amount to? I guarantee that that completely fixes the Social Security problem. All right, second issue I want to talk about, I've been invited to the Wednesday Occupy Wall Street here in Nevada County, and I definitely need to get over there. But I want to talk about Wall Street for a minute, because this economic mess that we're in today, that maybe we're starting to see a little progress of getting out of, that mess was caused by Wall Street. If you watch Fox News, you might think it was caused by President Obama. But it was a matter of these subprime mortgages put in the form of derivatives, and then with these rating agencies telling everybody that these are great investments when in fact they're virtually worthless. And the real problem with Wall Street is those that make big money on Wall Street are the insider traders, or the executives who are making really big compensation packages for these stock companies. Let me tell you how bad this is. In 2009, the top 5 earning hedge fund managers made, between the 5 of them, $13.6 billion in 1 year. That's billion with a B. Somebody has to pay for those salaries. And guess who it is? It's the small investors, it's the middle class who are putting their money into Wall Street. And before I go on any further, let me tell you, I'm a hardcore capitalist. I believe the stock market is absolutely essential to our economy. But having said that, somebody has hijacked Wall Street. Let me define the way I see the problem. There's investing in Wall Street, and I should say investing in the stock market, and then there's gambling on the stock market. A big difference. Investing in the stock market means putting your money into companies for a long time, see the market moving and try to jump on ahead of everybody else. And so every movement of the stock market is multiplied by 70% of the transactions on the stock market are these computer trades now. So the problem is, what these day traders are trying to do, so that you know, is everybody knows that there's insider trading going on in the stock market. And these day traders and these computer programs, they're not the insider traders, but they're trying to see when there's a movement of the stock market by an insider trader and get in on the big rise or get out in time before it drops. And so this is what we've got to eliminate, and as Frank suggested, there's a fairly simple solution. We need to encourage investing. At the same time, we need to discourage gambling. What do you do to discourage things like use of alcohol, use of tobacco, things like that? You put a tax on it so that it's more expensive and it discourages people from using it. We could, and by the way, the American Nursing Association is really pushing this, and they've got the right idea. They're suggesting a 1% tax on every stock transaction.
Yes.
That is a great idea because day traders and these computer programs, they make only small profits, and a 1% tax on that is really going to discourage them. Okay? The trouble with doing that, though, is that also hits the people that are investing. We don't want to put a 1% tax on those investors. We want those investors in the market. So I think what we need to do is those people that have their money in the stock market for a long enough period of time, or at least a year, they should get that 1% back when they sell the stock. So therefore, we've penalized the gamblers, and we've not discouraged the investors.
I like that.
Now, as if this isn't bad enough, we give, because of Wall Street, we give investors in the stock market a big tax advantage over people who are working for a living. And I know we all know that this is true, but let me describe for you how this works, because it's important to understand what the problem is. If you're an investor in the stock market, you make your money either by dividends from the stock, or you make it through capital gains when you see the stock go up and you sell it for a profit. Wall Street has pushed Congress into giving these investors a flat tax of 15%. If you have to pay a tax on capital gains or dividends, it's 15% if you earn $10,000 in the stock market, $1 million in the stock market, $10 million in the stock market. A flat tax. Now let's compare that with people who work for a living. If you're a single taxpayer, the moment you earn $34,500, anything above that you're paying at least 25%. So there's a 10% penalty for working for a living over those just living off the investments. And of course that rate even goes higher as you earn more and more money. And on top of the 10% or more penalty for working for a living, you've got the payroll tax that has to be paid also. That's when there's no tax holiday like we have today, is about 7.65%. So if you add that on top of the 10% penalty, people working for a living are paying a minimum of an 18% penalty over those who are living off their investments. There's something wrong here. Now, I don't have a problem with small investors who are getting a little bit of dividends, a little bit of capital gains. Maybe they should still have a break. But certainly anybody who earns more than $200,000 a year shouldn't be given a huge tax advantage over people working for a living. We need to bring tax fairness back to our country, and at the very minimum, those tax rates need to be equalized. Of course, yeah.
Can I ask on this subject? I have some Republican friends who, when I bring up this sort of thing, talk about the 45 to 50% of Americans who don't pay any taxes. Where is that coming from?
All right, so this is really important for everybody to understand. Let's talk about where the revenue from the United States comes from.
And they think that's not fair, by the way.
Okay, all right. So a little over 41% of our tax revenue, or revenue coming into the United States, comes from individuals filing tax returns and paying their tax. A little bit under 41% of our revenue coming into the United States comes from the payroll tax. So that only leaves 18%, and we've heard about how corporations are being taxed away out of the country and so on. They're paying like 8% of the total revenue, and then there's other excise taxes and other things. But the point is, the payroll tax and the individual income tax are virtually equal as far as supplying revenue to the United States. Now, finally, to get to your question, Margie. So it is true, because people who are earning lower amounts of money, even though they may be at, let's say, the 10% tax rate or the 15% tax rate, with the various deductions and credits, end up not paying any income tax. So there's this argument that Republicans love to make that on the looking at income taxes only, that the rich pay a disproportional amount. Not percentage-wise, because they get a real break percentage-wise. After all, people who make the wealthy people, those people making $10 million or more a year, generally are not working for a living. They're living off their investments. So if you're looking at percentages, it's really discrimination against working people. If you're looking at real dollars, yeah, the wealthy on the income tax are paying more dollars than those who can't really afford to pay it. But let's look at the overall picture. Who is it that's paying the payroll tax? Remember, there's a cap at $110,000. And investors aren't paying anything on the payroll tax. So when you've got a payroll tax that's virtually equal to the income tax, and the payroll tax is on people who are making not very much money, it would be unfair for somebody to conclude that the wealthy are paying way more than their share. They're missing the overall picture. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Well, so again, the three solutions that I think will immediately impact on stopping the middle class from being attacked and disappearing like it's been disappearing is eliminate the cap on Social Security, put an excise tax on stock trades to slow down that gambling. And by the way, if and this is not actually true, but if you use the $40 trillion from 2009 as being the amount of trades, and this is assuming, of course, there was no discouragement by putting this tax, but if you put a 1% tax on $40 trillion, that's $400 billion, and it's on both the buyer and the seller, so you double it. That's $800 billion. Boy, it's going to be easy to balance the budget with an extra $800 billion sitting there. And then finally, we need to bring fairness to our tax system so investors don't have this huge advantage over people who are actually working for a living. So, as Joan mentioned, a lot of my work is in working with tax planning. I have a degree in taxation. 2012 is not going to be a year where much happens in Washington, D.C. because it's an election year. But by 2013, we need to fix our tax code. The time has come, we need to do something, and I want to be there because I know what I'm talking about. So I'm asking for everybody's help here to make sure that I'm in Washington, D.C. to help with the solution to the problem. So it's a grassroots effort. Every one of you needs to go talk to 10 friends this week and 10 more friends next week and on, because, by the way, you have to talk to the same friends over and over again. If they hear the name Reed once, probably doesn't mean anything. If they hear the name Reed 3 times, it might start sounding familiar, but 6 or 7 times is what it really takes before they'll actually make that vote. So that's what I need each one of you to be doing, is out there talking to people, saying this guy Reed actually might know what he's talking about. It might be a solution to our problems in Washington, D.C. The other thing is something I really, Margie, I could use some help here. The one thing, I love the campaign. You can probably tell I really enjoy getting up and talking to people. But there's one thing I don't really like doing.
Okay, I'll ask if you want. He knows I've been bugging him about this, because the one thing I've noticed over these years with working with candidates is none of them will give the pitch at the end. They're too modest, I guess. So here's the deal. We have to show support for this man now. If we want the powers that be in Washington, D.C., which is primarily the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, to pay any attention to him, which is necessary for winning. How we show attention, how we show our support, is by the numbers. They want to see how many names he has on the list. They want to see how much money he has. But it isn't so much 5 big donors, which of course we hope he'll get. They want to see how many individuals have donated money. So, I'm going to go and get the envelopes and the forms. Also, part of it is how many volunteers. So even if right now money isn't possible, we need your name. This is very important. And then we will also be recruiting for people to actually do the legwork as soon as we have the names.
And just one thing to add to that. There's actually 2 ways to donate to the campaign. And the first way is to go to the website, jimreed2012.com. And there's something called Act Blue, which is the Democratic organization that collects money for Democratic candidates. And you can make a contribution with your credit card or your debit card online. I've had people tell me, I really want to support your campaign, but I don't have any money. I could probably come up with $10 this month. I might even come up with $10 next month. You can go to Act Blue and sign up to have your credit card or your debit card have $10 taken out of it every month on whatever day you choose, whatever works for your schedule. So that's one really easy way to make contributions. But these envelopes that are being passed out, federal reporting is not as simple as state reporting. And so we love to see checks just like we love to see contributions online. But if you're going to make a contribution by a check and you haven't contributed already, fill out the envelope, because all that information on the envelope we need for reporting. So Margie was right. What we need to have is the support of the big donors eventually, the unions, the PACs, the Democratic Party, but we can't even get their support unless by June 1st we have $100,000 sitting in the bank and more than 500 people having made donations to the campaign. So that's why there's 2 elements. It's the number of people and the total amount of money, and I can use your support on both of those. If you're going to make a contribution and you have a husband, do half by you and half by your husband. We just doubled the number of contributors that way. So, but anyway, again, this is the hardest part of campaigning to talk about. I really don't like it, but it's just something we have to do. Yes?
Where are you at now?
We made a little. We as of December 31st, which was our last reporting date, we'd gotten about 30,000 in contributions.
And how many people?
It was about 250 people at that point. So we're doing good on the number of people, not so good on the total amount. But,
Also, you're the only candidate now.
oh, okay. And so probably all of you already know this, but there's at least 3 Republicans in the race, and we're still waiting for Sam Attestad to make a decision whether he's going to be the 4th. But I am the only Democrat. Already have the endorsement of the local Democratic Region 1. And next weekend, of course, we go to San Diego for the Democratic Convention, and I will be endorsed by the Democratic Party. But endorsements, as I found out when I ran last time, is not enough. It's that Democratic money that we really need.
Speaking of endorsements, I want to.
Oh, all right.
All right. Members of the Nevada County Democratic Women's Club, we are allowed, since Jim Reed is on our agenda today, we are allowed to make an endorsement of his campaign for Congressional District 1 with a simple majority vote. And so I propose that our organization endorses the candidacy of Jim Reed here in California, Nevada County, and Congressional 1st District.
Second.
Have a second? Okay. All right, can I see hands for an endorsement? All right. Let's see, did we miss anybody? Okay, only the guys take votes. So. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Okay, if you have more questions, we have one more.
Okay, so this afternoon at 1 o'clock at the Veterans Hall, I will spend even more time answering questions, but we do have a few minutes right now if anybody would like to ask. Marty, why don't you start?
Okay, I have a question. Last month we heard all about the ballot. You're just going with party affiliation, whoever gets the top two candidates
So,
get to run against each other in November, which means it could be two Republicans. So you need your money to become known for that June ballot.
yeah, and particularly if Sam Anistad enters the race. And Doug LaMalfa, even though you probably don't know Doug LaMalfa that much down here, he's well known in other parts of the district. There is a potential, and this is the one thing that worries me. I should be able to skate in as the only Democrat and be one of the top two that goes to November. However, here's what our political environment is shaping up like nationally. The Republican presidential race looks like it won't be decided until our June election here in California. That means Republicans are going to be turning out, and all those declined estate people are going to want to be, well, at least be thinking Republican so that they can influence who's going to be the presidential candidate. And if we have Democrats with no particular interest in the primary because there's no really hot races. I think there's only going to be 2 propositions on the ballot, so it's not going to, people aren't going to be coming out for the propositions. There's a real chance that with a very poor Democratic turnout and a really big Republican turnout, that there could be 2 Republicans in the general election in November. Yes, in the back.
Carol, I think right now what you're saying needs to be in the press.
Absolutely.
Yes, it needs to be, explain it in the press. I mean, I want you to, the Nevada City Advocate, we have a news thing, and it's a monthly, that should be in there. That's how you educate about that.
Okay. Yeah, but you're also educating the Republicans. I mean,
No, I'm talking about us.
Yeah, well,
no, but you're telling the public needs to come out.
well, I think they're going to come out whether we educate them or not. That's the problem. But the Democrats do need to be educated. But let me just say this. I've been waiting because I really thought Sam Anistad was coming in.
Yeah.
And he may still will be coming in, but I was going to wait until he actually announced. And then at that point, I was going to really start talking about this.
Yeah.
I think you need to talk about it now.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
That's a big get out the vote.
And people don't really understand that because this is the first time we've ever had an open primary. Yeah. But to give you an idea, I don't know how many people know my history. I ran in the 2nd District in 2010. It's about half of the 2nd District and about half of the 1st District are now combined. So our new district is the northeast corner of the state, 11 counties. By the way, Nevada County is the 3rd largest population, so this is a really important county to me. But I forget where I was going with this.
History.
Oh, so anyway, last time I ran against a guy named Wally Herbert. And I got, and by the way, 2010 was a rough year to be a Democrat. The Tea Party was out in force, and in the primary, I got 35,000 votes. In the general election, I got 100,000 votes. So that shows you how many more people turn out for the general election than the primary. But I did get 43% of the obviously Wally Herder was listening. I was only 7% short of winning last time. And with the new district, we've done an analysis. I have a polling company that did this for me, and they did it without charging me, by the way. They looked at the numbers, compared the old district that I ran in last time with now the new district, and it's roughly the same difference of registration, roughly 12% more Republicans than Democrats in our entire district. But that's not the important number. The important number is how the people vote.
Right.
And as it turns out, between 3 and 4%, there's between a 3 and 4% improvement on people tending to vote more Democrat as opposed to Republican, comparing the two districts. So if I was down 7% last time and we just picked up 4%, that put us within 3%. That just means we have to work harder than the other side to win. Well, apparently Wally Herger was listening, because I think, as you know, Wally Herger decided to retire.
Yay.
Yes?
Back when we were in Doolittle's district, when he first run, Nevada County was the only county within this area that went Democratic with Pat Mulder, and we won then, so that we can do it again. We can
Well,
be a Democratic.
the number that you're talking about that really caught my attention was when Charlie Brown ran against McClintock. I know Charlie Brown ran against Doolittle first, but the second race was against McClintock, and he, of course, just missed winning that election. But in Nevada counties, he won by 15%. That's what we need in this election. We need to win by 15%. In the back.
Okay, just real quick, what Mary said. We actually did all over. We lost by 10% on that race. And the reason they lost, here's again, we got to learn by our history, is who you brought. At the last minute, John Doolittle brought North Conway over to the areas where Pat Mulder was high, and that's how she lost. So it's who you bring. So that last minute, like that's what I'm saying, you got to stay, like right now, like you're saying, it has to be acted on now. You know, and then you got to watch who you bring, because whoever's going to be like, and I don't know about Sam Aniston. I think he's in his business, but
Well, no, I've been watching the Republican presidential debates, thoroughly enjoying them, by the way. And I could just see this race turning into something like that, where Doug LaMalfa and Sam Aniston go at each other. And I can just stay out of the fray and watch what happens. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that Sam enters the race. But believe me, I am committed to winning this race. I will do all the hard work that's required to make sure that we win. Yes?
I was going to say, Charlie Brown was here all the time. He was constantly here. He went to the county fair, went around and not even in a booth, went around and talked to everybody. But the other thing is that McClintock came in with some really nasty campaign material. It showed Charlie in fatigues and said he was anti-war. Because apparently to defeat your opponent, you need to go through their strength. That's why with Romney, we need to go through his business ability and cast doubt on that. But because both Charlie and his wife were Vietnam vets, and he was career Army, and then his son, or Air Force, his son did 4 tours of Iraq. McClintock got this picture of him, like, and there was a flag burning near him, and and so it was just an incredible smear campaign that also helped defeat him.
Well, I hope that's not where we're headed in this campaign, but if it is, we're ready.
Okay.
Yes?
I've wondered, I always thought that one of Charlie Brown's disadvantage was that you had the whole north part of the state, which is vast and spread, and he really would have really hard for him to make his mark there. But how much of an advantage do you think you have by being a resident of that area?
Well, that's the thing. So the new district includes what I ran in last time, the core of what I ran in last time, which is Siskiyou County, Shasta County, Tehama County, and Butte County. And I live in Shasta County, and I actually beat Herger in Butte County. By the way, Butte County is the biggest population of the 11 counties. Shasta County is the second largest. Nevada County is the third largest. Those 3 counties together are 75% of the population. So the good news is I am now pretty well known in both Butte and Shasta counties. And I'm working here in Nevada County to get to that same position. And so those are the 3 key counties that I will try to be spending as much time in as possible. But I'm also getting out to the other places. Last time, Fall River Mills, where I live, was really at the edge of the 2nd district. I was practically into the 1st district, which is Fall River Mills is where Shasta, Lassen, and Modoc counties all come together. But now with the new district, I am right in the center. Where I live is right in the center of the district. So I think from the standpoint of those northern counties, I'm known there now. That's got to be a big advantage. But it also means down here where we need to win by 15%, I got to spend a lot of time down here. And so, next thing you can help me on. I absolutely have to be here at least every other week, if not more. I'm not real big on going to the county fairs and so on. I can tell you I've had experiences where I was at the county fair and I would have to reach out to shake somebody's hand and they'd see me step over the line and I'd be penalized. They would say, you can't do that. So I prefer meet and greets. But I don't want to see the same people at the meet and greets every time. So we need to start setting up meet and greets, but whoever sets it up needs to make sure their core friends and neighbors come to it who aren't going to other meet and greets. So the way you do this, again, my website is jimreed2012.com. If you do info@jimreed2012.com, that goes to all my campaign staff. My paralegal at my office is the one that actually schedules them. So if you are willing to do a meet and greet, call my office. By the way, the number is easy to remember, 336-5050. Everybody should have a brochure, I hope. The number's on there. Or email one of my staff at jimreed2012.com, and we can set up event. I guarantee you I will be here. Okay? All right, so I'm hoping everybody will come this afternoon at 1 o'clock to the Veterans Hall. Bring some people that weren't here today, hopefully. You may hear me talking about some of the same things because Social Security, the unfair tax laws, and Wall Street are really important things that I'm talking about right now. But sometimes hearing it for the second time makes more sense anyway. Thank you very much.